So here we have part 2 of Special Bots Rated. So we obviously did part 1. If you've not seen that yet, go and check that out. We give a description of all the bots and why we've rated them, how they are. But we're going to carry on again. We're going to carry on with Cheeto. So Cheeto back in the HQ 16 days was absolutely immense. Was my go-to bot. Absolutely loved him as a cleanup bot. But since the increase in HP, he's really struggled to kind of make any impact in the game. Very similar to Beast Wars Prowl, and so he's going into C tier with Beast Wars Prowl as well. Next, we've got Brawn. I was super excited when Brawn came out. Thought it'd be really cool to have a bot that's really cheap, that can take out defenses that are under any kind of stun. But I think the problem is that we don't have many bots that have a long range AoE stun. We have single target stun for quite a few, and then the bots that can do an AoE stun generally have a short range or generally are really expensive. And so there's not many long range AoE electric bots in the game that can combo with Brawn. Once that happens, I feel like he'll go up to like A or S tier. It'd actually be an amazing bot. But because of that, there's no one to really combo him with. So it kind of goes into B. That he can take out some long range defenses, got great range, he's got everything going for him. He's cheap, but there's just no one quite to pair with. And I feel like he's missing a partner. You know, we talk about backdoors with Cup and Springer and being sort of, you know, a match made in heaven and you have to use them together. And I feel Brawn doesn't have that partner yet. Next up, we have SG Goldbug. And even when it came out, I said it was pretty awful. Couldn't see anyone using it. High cost. And literally goes into D tier. Really, really poor bot. Granted, it's only a 4-star. Maybe that's influenced me because it doesn't have a 5-star version. Maybe because it hasn't had that 5-star version. Maybe that's why it hasn't had a rework yet. But I just find him pretty useless. Why freeze a lot of defenses when you can just take them out with Warpath for a similar cost? Next, we've got Red Alert. Red Alert, good on offense, good on defense. Shielding bots. Not used in Outpost as much anymore as he once was. Not used on offense as much anymore as he once was. FFD kind of killed him off a bit. But he still has a really good place in the game. I don't think it's as high as he used to be, but slots straight into B tier. Next, we've got Wimbley. Wimbley, one of the really, really old bots. Maybe original bot, but a long, long time ago at least. Obviously in batch 2, so quite a while ago. Could be used as a sack bot. It's an okay effect, but obviously she gets caught in a mine. She's pretty much dead and buried and doesn't have high HP really. But yeah, not many uses in the game. It kind of goes into C tier, which is quite average. Next, we've got Orion Pax. I wasn't a fan of Orion Pax in testing. Wasn't a fan when he came out. The healing turrets just don't seem to pack any kind of punch. Don't heal enough. And for me, goes straight into D tier, being really, really poor. Next, we've got Rodimus Prime. It was good in the Rush and Smash team, but as we talked about Optimus Prime's Rush being quite inconsistent, he kind of fell away from that as soon as that sort of died a death. New base designs are getting a lot more clever, trying to stop against people rushing round, so sort of limits his use. And so Rodimus Prime sadly goes into D tier. He was very specific in a certain team, and he's even lost that now as well. Next up, we've got Blaster, and we talked about Gnaw in the previous video and how Gnaw was not as good as Blaster. Blaster's minions really struggled to maintain their HP. Obviously, with the new defenses, the amount of damage that the MDS does, defenses like that. And obviously, we said how Gnaw struggles with low HP. So I would put Blaster just one place above Gnaw in B tier. He has a good use in lower leagues, I think. Absolutely immense. But again, once you get to higher levels of the game, then you're really going to struggle to keep their minions alive. Next up, we've got Optimal Primal. Optimus Primal. Optimus Primal. Optimal Primal. Optimus Primal. Next up, we've got Optimus Primal. Never been a good bot. Never been in the meta. Jumps ahead. Dies. D tier. Enough said. Next up, we've got Leo Prime. I think we all know Leo Prime. He would go above S tier if he could. Stratospheric. Up in the clouds. There's no U for unbelievable. But if there was, he would go in it. And hence why a lot of calls for him to be nerfed and fixed, or whatever you want to call it. But absolutely immense amount of damage. And hence why, if anyone says to me, what bot should I go for? That is the bot to go for. That is the bot I tell people. Absolutely immense bot. But again, I took a conversation for him to get nerfed maybe because of the amount of damage that he actually does. Next up, we've got Rustus. So Rustus had a buff a couple of years ago when Skids came out, and the idea again was that her and Skids were a match made in heaven, but the ranges didn't quite match. She ran ahead, Skids stayed back because Skids is a gunner and can equip more range combats. She went up ahead and died a lot faster, and so she doesn't have that same sort of appeal that Skids have, and doesn't actually really match up that well with Skids either. And so she does decent damage for what she is, but I'm going to put her in C tier, only for the amount of damage that she does with the ability. Outside of that, she'd probably go in D tier. Next up, we've got Taz Kid. Pretty awful. Had a buff to go in the batch. Weren't buffed enough. Was pretty woeful. And I didn't realise this. In testing, said he was awful. He came out bugged and was doing double the damage. I didn't even know that. And so when he got put in the batch, that was fixed. And everyone sort of complained, saying, listen, he wasn't OP. You should put him back to what he was. I can't comment on whether that was balanced or not. But I feel like right now he's gone back the other way again. And I feel like it could have been somewhere in the middle between what he was when they put him in test or finished test and what he was when he came out into the live server. And I feel like somewhere in the middle we should have compromised. But yeah, sadly, I feel like Taz Kid is going to go into C tier. It was okay damage, but I didn't like his ability. I didn't like the fact that it kind of overlaps and you have to time it. Not a big fan. Next we have Perceptor. Perceptor had his day where he was hacking defenses. I feel like maybe there could be a use for him in the current meta with lack of hack cores. He could be pretty good, but quite expensive to use. But yeah, good effect. But I still feel like he's probably in C tier, and I feel like that might be quite generous because he's hardly used anymore, especially at higher levels of the game. But I do like the fact that he does hack, and I feel like he has got a good place in a minute with the lack of anti-hack core. So you never know. Next, I've got Top Spin. Top Spin was quite good for a while. Took out some key defenses like the MDS thing like that. And I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it's because of how expensive he is. But kind of dropped down the usage rates. Dropped down seeing him in wars at all. Maybe just because there was better bots out there. I don't know. But he does decent damage still. So I'm kind of going to put him in B tier. Because I feel like, yeah, he does okay damage. It's an okay bot. Yeah, we don't see that much anymore. But I still feel like he has a decent use. Next up, we've got Ultra Magnus. So this is going to be a difficult one because right now it's pretty awful, but I know that he's going to get a legacy rework soon, and I'm hoping that will push him up the ranks. From what I've heard, it's quite promising, but right now, inconsistent damage, not very good range, he lacked any sort of shield as a frontline tank, so Ultra Magnus kind of goes into D tier, sadly. Next up, we've got Laser Optimus. Laser Optimus, quite a good bot, good opening bot, does quite a lot of damage. But again, when we talk about special bots compared to warriors, they lack any kind of HP, any kind of survivability. And so I kind of think he's alright. I think he kind of goes into B tier as a pretty good bot. I think that low level players will look at that and go, that's kind of unjust, he should be higher. And I think you'll look at higher players and they go, well, yeah, that's probably where he should be, maybe even lower because I don't use him anymore. So I kind of think he should be somewhere in the middle there, like I said. Maybe higher for lower level players, maybe a bit lower for high level players. Good in an outpost, very good in an outpost still. So yeah, I think B is just maybe creeping into A, but I think B is where he'll stay. Next up, we have Huffer. So Huffer was made a legacy bot. I went from being very, very poor to being half decent. He's not hit the heights of hitting a war team yet. He's not quite there yet. And I think people were a bit frustrated by that when he was made into a legacy bot. And I think they believed that he would be made into a war bot. But that was never the case. And then when obviously he was put in the batch, people sort of said the same again. I think they thought he would get buffed to be a war bot and never really was. And so Huffer's going to go in C tier, doesn't quite do enough healing, doesn't quite do enough damage, lacks any sort of protection or any kind of shielding. And he's okay. He's okay. He's a squad filler. Next up, we've got Hoist. Hoist, really good healer. I haven't pulled him yet on my live account, but I do consider pulling him because so many people say how good he is of a bot. I've not used him personally, but I do see a lot of people raving about him, saying how good he is. And so I'm going to put him literally into A tier because I do see a lot of use in him. When you look at his stats and the amount of healing he does, it's actually quite impressive. It's almost like having Minerva, but obviously having a bot that attacks rather than just healing. So if you want an alternative for Minerva, but more DPS in your team, then Hoist is definitely an example of how you can do that in your team, and massively underrated for me, and a really, really good bot. Next up, we've got Punch. Punch was an interesting concept, how he goes undercover and goes invisible, under stealth and hacks, and I feel like all that together kind of worked very well, but I feel like the cost and repeat cost was just too much for him, and he never actually got that use out of him. I think the apes were quite cautious because he had stealth and was invisible, and because he had a hack and had quite good DPS, because he had all these things. On paper, when you look at it, he sounds absolutely immense. But when you actually use him in a war, it doesn't work for long enough, and like I said, it's too expensive, so you don't get many uses out of it. So I understand them being cautious with it. I understand that. But we talk about, not just looking on paper and actually looking at what actually does. And I just feel like they've underestimated him. And so he goes into C tier. Next up, we've got... I'm trying to... Not sure the next bit, but... Let me just... There we go. Next up, we have Hot Rod. Hot Rod was S tier maybe for a while, A tier. Everyone used him in an outpost right next to the MDS, protected the MDS, caused huge amount of problems. But then what we just found was people just started dropping the combiner and just getting routed that way. And people were sort of taking out key defenses and making him then protect a defense that wasn't as important. And people just found nice, easy ways to get around that. Obviously, on offense, he was very good for a while, but then with the FFDs, they went away for a while. FFDs, they come back again. Everyone still uses FFDs because the amount of bots that are really, really good without them. When you look at Trax and you look at Hot Rod, bots like that, they're absolutely immense when FFDs aren't around. So you generally do see still a couple of FFDs. Maybe not the 5 that I used once for quite a while, actually. But they are still used, so that sort of negates Hot Rod a bit. So I'm going to put Hot Rod in B tier. He's still very good, still has his uses, just not quite hitting them heights that he used to. Next up, we have Impactor. So Impactor, when he came out, was quite impressive, did a lot of damage, but he had a ceiling that he couldn't go past. The apes realised this and removed that ceiling and thought that that would really, really improve him, but he never quite got past that ceiling because by the time he's destroyed any defenses and took that damage, the ability would end, and so it never really took full advantage. So for me, Impactor, he's not quite as good as Sentius, so I'd maybe put him in C tier. I feel like it might be a bit too Maybe beta. I feel like beta, yeah, because I feel like there's some bots in there that is a lot better than. Does a quite a good amount of damage. And not quite bad enough for C tier, but is not quite as good as Sensius maybe, but yeah, very average bot. Next we have Skyburst. Skyburst is kind of a forgotten bot, really. She was the first sort of Gunner special hybrid, which was a special bot that could equip ranged combats. And so at the time was quite revolutionary. Not so much anymore. Her ability is quite poor, quite inconsistent, large spread, don't really get used that much. And generally just not very good. And so Skyburst for me goes into D tier and probably needs a bit of an improvement. Next up we have Streetwise. So Streetwise is actually maybe underutilized. I feel like when 5-star Streetwise comes out, we'll see Streetwise all over. Because he actually has amazing range. And you've got the slowdown, you've got the speed up for your own bots. The main problem with Streetwise is that when you put it in an area, if you want it to speed up your bots, then it only works in a small area around your bots, and so doesn't also slow down defenses, because the defenses are usually far away, your bots are normally close to you. Where if you want to slow down the defenses, you can slow them down from far away, but then your bots are close to you, and so you don't get the effect of that. And so I feel like it should be in a wider area rather than having to cast it. I feel like it should be in a wider area when he gets his 5-star version. But I can imagine him being very good and maybe utilized a lot more than people realize, and maybe underestimated, maybe. But I feel like right now it goes into C tier. Maybe because it's got a 4-star version, underutilized, maybe. But I just feel like the balance is not there between speed up and slow down with defenses and bots. And it's almost like using the ability for either rather than both. And lastly, we have Bumblebee. So, Bumblebee, I feel like had a great place in the meta. Then fell away from it with the introduction of electric cores, but not because of Bumblebee, but more because of Sea Spray, because he was so OP. And then as the game has progressed and we've got better firebots like Leo Prime and Optimus, people have gone away from electric cores a bit more and gone towards fire cores. And so we've seen Sea Spray making a bit more of a comeback. But because we've seen Sea Spray making a bit more of a comeback, I feel like that means that Bumblebee kind of gets a bit of a comeback. Super, super cheap, great damage in an area, stuns defenses. What's not to like? The only problem with Bumblebee is obviously his HP. That kind of lets him down. He does run ahead. He does die quite quickly. And I've said all along that if the apes were to bring out a combat like Triceratops that only gets attached to scouts, that gave them more range, they would be onto a winner. They would sell out. It would be absolutely amazing, but that has never happened, sadly. And so scouts automatically, as you can see in the ratings, tend to struggle a bit at the high levels of the game. And so Bumblebee, I'm going to put him in B tier because he does do a great amount of damage, does do a great area of effect, but just dies a bit quickly for my liking in the higher leagues. And that is every special class bot rated in the game, guys. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with my ratings? There's some of them you don't agree with. If you don't agree, put it in the comments. Let me know why you don't agree as well. Not just that you don't agree. Let me know why you don't agree. Do you pair it up with a certain bot? Does it work really well? What league do you even war in? Let me know.